Oh, that's her.
Yes, it's just so loud.
It's okay. You've got a treat tonight. I can't tell you how exciting I am. We've got Genesis Bays and Lily Miller. They are junior at Heritage and senior at Heritage. And their UIL project is Decoding Dyslexia. So they're going to kind of talk to you about their project and what they're doing because they are state bound. And then we've got Nancy DeScarlick. She is here from Region 10. She's the dyslexia consultant there, and she's going to give us some good information as well. So thank you for coming, and enjoy the evening.
Hi, thank you all for coming. We just wanted to host this night to bring dyslexia to the community as part of our project. So for our FCCLA project, we're in Advocacy Senior, which means we set up this presentation and we have about 10 minutes to share the research that we've gained through Scottish Rite, Region 10, and within the district. So this is the presentation that we set up, and then we're based off of a rubric, and we competed against 17 people at regionals in Waco, and we were able to place first, and we go to state in April. We compete against about 30 people, and then we get the top 1 or 2 spots to go to nationals this summer. So that's kind of what our project is. We've done a JAG talk, so last Thursday at Heritage, kind of on the same basis of a TED talk. We got up during the lunches in the choir room, and people came in and they were given JAG tokens, so a little bit of extra credit to come. But we were able to present our project, talk about what we're doing to better dyslexia in the community, and then you can go ahead and talk about
I'm going to talk about why we started this project. So about 11 years ago, I was diagnosed with dyslexia, and I didn't quite know what that meant. And I didn't know the words, like, what does this mean? And over time, I've learned. But 11 years ago, if you told me I'd be standing here right now sharing my story, I would tell you no. Like, I couldn't do it. I was ashamed of it. I was embarrassed. I was made fun of in school, and I just couldn't bear telling people about it. So I hid it from the world. And now I have the opportunity to be able to share it with y'all. And like, I wouldn't change this for the world. Being able to share it with everyone and raise awareness with it has been amazing. It has like given me the opportunity to tell my story to the world. And I feel like it helps other students because me and Genesis have both been in the Ready, Set, Teach program. So she's in it this year at Long Branch, and I was in it last year at McClatchy. And through this program, we've watched dyslexics in class. And Genesis firsthand has been able to see like dyslexics struggle. And so our main goal is to raise awareness and spread it through the community.
Ways that we're planning on doing that, if you saw outside the table, is the fundraiser that we're doing. It's the 1 in 5 necklace campaign that we started. 1 in 5 stands for 1 in 5 people are diagnosed with dyslexia. So all the proceeds from those necklaces are going to go towards the International Dyslexia Association. So that's what that is out there. If you want to purchase one after or enter into the raffle that we're going to be drawing at the end of the night to win a free necklace, that's $1. And then something else that we're looking forward to is doing this dyslexia night, but also we wanted to start a mentor program in Midlothian, kind of based off of, if you ever heard of PAL or basically Ready, Set, Teach, but kind of for dyslexics. So dyslexics helping other dyslexics out, giving them tips and tricks on how to get through school, especially now being one-to-one, ways to utilize the tools that we're given. So Nancy's probably going to talk a little bit more about that and things that you can do over the summer to get more information about that. So those are just a few of the things that we've started and are excited to do. So that's our project. And now we would like to invite Nancy from Region 10 to talk about dyslexia tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, first of all, we're going to see if you can hear me. Can you hear me like that? Can you hear me in the back if I just talk normal? Yes. Oh, then I don't have to write this. Okay, let me de-mic myself. Hold on just a second. Okay, while they're doing that, let me introduce myself. So, when I was little, I struggled in school, but just like Lily said, I didn't want anyone to know about it, so it was just something that I hid. So then I decided that when I became a mom, that I wanted my kids to like reading and like myself. Well, let me back up before that. So when I went to college, we were talking about Nancy stories, and this woman said, "Oh, it sounds like you have dyslexia." And I said, "Is that contagious? That sounds horrible." She didn't say anything or explain it. I never asked again because that sounded awful. So then my son is born, and I was like, he's gonna love reading. I hate reading, and yes, I do openly say that. I do not like reading at all. I do now, but I didn't. And so my son, I had the alphabet on the refrigerator. I had the alphabet inside the bathtub. I would try to spell. We had book share. We had book time. We did anything, book. And guess what? Does my son like to read? No. He thinks of reading the same way I do. So we got into first grade, and we'd have spelling tests. And we'd say it in the car, and we'd say it with the alphabet. We'd write it 3 times, and we did it in the pyramid, right? Did he pass the test on Fridays? Didn't pass the test on Fridays. So one night we were doing prayers, and he said, God, I would really like to stay in heaven with you than to go back to school. And that's when I knew something was not okay. And so I went to the library. I went to the Barnes & Noble, and there's a book called The Secret Life of a Dyslexic Child. And as I read through it, I just cried there in Barnes & Noble, so I was like, this is my life. So the way I coach was I have a posse everywhere I go. They are what I call, with respect, my reading eye dogs. So when I need information, I'm going to touch the people that are closest to me. Are you okay? I apologize, but you will be my student tonight, and I will probably be like this all night. Those are my little sugar bears. Okay, so you always have people in the front row that are my students. So, well, let me tell you why you're a sugar bear. Now this is just a side story now. Those are bonus. I can't remember people's names. So all my students are honey, darling, sweetheart, sugar bear, kind honey bun. Oh, my honey bun, I'm so glad you're here. So my students will come, Mrs. D, I'm like, love bug, what are you doing? But I will never forget a face. So anyway, hold on. Oh, and you know how I went blah, 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 like that? I do that when I teach. So my little elementary kids would come home and they were like, Mrs. D, our kids now say, Mom, I go blah, 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 blah. Your children pick up on that, and I'm very sorry. So anyway, my son, we fought for him to be tested for dyslexia, but guess what? We were under a different model. My teachers didn't hate us. We were under a different model, and it was a failure model. So my son did not fail 3rd grade, so they didn't test him. He did not fail 4th grade, they didn't test him. My son went from A's to B's. My son did not fail 5th grade or 6th grade. They did not test him because now he was B's and C's. So when my son was in 7th grade and he finally didn't care about school or himself, my son failed it, so they tested him for dyslexia. And that's where we have it. So be very proud in the state of Texas. Be very proud that you are under the screeners. You are experiencing growth pains right now. Your coordinator and all the other coordinators in the state of Texas are frustrated right now because there's not enough teachers for all the identification. What a great problem. I'm from Oklahoma, where my niece is in the state of Oklahoma, and her community, her district, which is about the size of Midlothian. Guess how many people are identified with dyslexia? My niece. Because I'm the one that said she's dyslexic, I promise you. So you're in a great state. You are in a growing pain. You are trying to get enough teachers for your kids, but they're being identified, they're being screened. So I'm so proud of what's going on. Do we have the presentation? Did it work? Let's see if it comes up. If not, I really can talk for hours. I love talking. Another special gift that dyslexia gave me, I am a talker. Oh, do you need me? Oh, you guys all need to spend all of that. I was like, are you going to see my password? Oh, look. Okay, here's what's funny. It's like, I know I professionally do this, but I'm shaking because I'm in front of you, so I can't even do that. I gotta spell slowly. Hold on. Okay, you want to make you feel really, really, really good for those kids out in the audience right now? So I go by Mrs. D. In 7th grade, I wanted to, oh, no, should we have a scuba? Hold on. Oh, what did I do? I've never talked and done this. Hold on a second. Go here. Go to slideshow. Go to. So this is what dyslexia looks like as an adult. Am I in?
There you go.
Okay. I like when my mistakes are public. Was that nice? Let's see if this works. Okay. Okay, so this is the Region 10 commercial. I didn't even know what Region 10 was as a parent. Region 10 is a resource for parents. I didn't know that. Guess what? If you call our phone, you're going to get me. So I presented at, some of you are like, oh no. I presented at McKinney. So the very next day, this woman calls, she went, Nancy! And I'm, hi! And she was like, it's Heather. And I'm like, oh! And in my head, I'm like, I don't know who Heather is. Talk, right? So at the end, I was like, you know, I'm so sorry. I've met about 500 people the last 3 months. Like, how do I know you? Oh, you don't. You said it with my name so familiar. And she said, I didn't know I'd actually get you if I called Region 10. So if you call Region 10, you will actually get me, and yes, I'll talk as long as you want to. So I enjoy being with parents. So Region 10 would like you to know that we're a resource for you, as well as our coordinators and our teachers. So we're going to talk about what is dyslexia. Most of you are like, yeah, we already know that. But I'm going to give you a different perspective of dyslexia tonight. How does the brain process, and how can parents support their kids? So I'm not going to make you read that, nor will I want to read that. But the great thing about this in Sally Shaywitz's book is in 1861 is when we first started learning about how the brain processes language. I didn't realize how far back it went. And then how honored you guys and privileged you are that you're in the state of Texas, that Louisa, Luke Waits, and Alette Cox said, hey, something's going on. We want to help these kids. So in Dallas, they created a program to help remediate kids with dyslexia. It's not happening everywhere else. You guys are in a great place to have kids with dyslexia. So then the government said, we need to know why kids do not understand dyslexia or why kids are not reading. So Sally Shaywitz was commissioned money to find out why. And so she put students inside of an MRI, but it's called a functional MRI, an fMRI. So they were able to actually look and see what the brain was doing when you gave it a function. So when they were reading, it lit up in areas for people that weren't dyslexic. If you put a dyslexic in there, your brain did not light up in those areas. Her research is why we've got so much information about dyslexia. Yes, I talk fast, but I will slow down in just a minute. So what I want my kids to know in the room is that our brains just process a different way. It's not our intelligence. So what I didn't know is my teacher would lecture, and talk, but I was always the kid next to Debbie, and I'm like, what did she say? What did we get out? What did we never do? What are we doing? Because she went faster than my brain could take it in. So instead of me going, I'm smart, she's teaching a way that's not right for me, I just felt alone and not okay. So in second grade, I would raise my hand and go, Mrs. Lawrence, blah, blah, blah. Mrs. Lawrence, da, da, da. Mrs. Lawrence. So she came over to me and she grabbed my desk, and we had tile floors and a metal desk. Class Monday 020. Wednesday, Thursday, 0. Friday, 0. Put me at the front of the room and said, now you're going to listen. So that was the day I learned, oh, we don't ask teachers questions. Okay. So from then on, I started asking friends. So that's how I learned to have a posse. That's when I became a leader, and I was class president from 7th grade all the way to my senior year. So those are other skills that dyslexic kids we get to rock at. So just let you know, that little commercial. So parents, 33% of your kids in the classroom learn no matter what the teacher does. 33% of kids learn because we go to trainings and we have adopted curriculum. But 33% of kids, which is our kids, they need explicit direct instruction. And it doesn't mean they're thinking differently. It means the way the information goes in, just like a computer. Both those computers can do things, but the way you program it is different. So it's an operating system. Dyslexia is a processing disorder. So it manifests itself not only in reading, but the way that we think and the way that we take in information. Go to the next slide. So the very top slide, that's where they tell you that you have the different language centers. So the front center, you have, I'm going to put this right here, and I do lose it during my presentation. That is dyslexia doesn't go away. So here's the shape. Its name is C. It has the sound and S front of her. If I take this shape, and I put it with A, and I put it with T, I have a word cat. And then back here, if I put it inside a sentence, it's not a cat ran. Okay, so language center. If you have dyslexia, which I do, the language center does not develop the way that another student does, so we do not process language here. The good news is we've learned that if you do remediation, those programs that you're in, we can develop the skills here. With dyslexia, it is not a gift. Your parents may say that because they want you to feel really good. I want to say to you that it's a really great thing. It's not a gift, it's a disability. However, the good news is, if you are blind, your hearing becomes more tuned. If you're deaf, your vision becomes more tuned. So our dyslexic students, where the disability in the language center, their frontal lobe has become more tuned. In autopsies, in 100% of autopsies, the frontal lobe and the space between the hemispheres is larger. And it's because we're taking in information differently. So Mrs. D, whenever this was my special gift, if I need to take in information, I memorize what I'm looking at. So I will not forget your faces, I won't remember your names. But I can look at somebody, and then when I repeat them back, I mimic them. I can mimic any of you. If I'm around you 20 minutes, I can mimic you right back. So a lot of actors, actresses, writers, authors, because they see the world just a little different as a tune. athletes, the same thing. So if sports were valedictorian, I'd probably be in the top 3 at my school, but it was unfortunately just one. But anyway, so I can look at I tell my coaches, if you'll show it to me, I can then do it. Because my brain, my frontal lobe, was able to mimic whatever I could see. So if you have an artist, a singer, a musician, those skills, the reason why is because that frontal lobe is enlarging. So that's what they mean by dyslexia as a gift. You just have a different way of viewing things. It's to your benefit. Mom and Dad, this is what your kids are doing inside of dyslexia. My mom is not dyslexic. When I showed her this, she was like, Nancy, that's terrible. I said, oh, it's absolutely fantastic. Because if you're a dyslexia therapist, you are not allowed to raise your hand. If you're normal like me, how many sounds does A make? Let's just say how many sounds. Everyone's like, I'm not raising my hand. I raised my hand and I was like, 2. Like I'm a great elementary teacher, so I was like 2. Okay, I would just say 3. Okay, 5. So here we go. Are you ready? I know, right? You're like, man, I was great. It actually has 3 sounds. Here we go. So we have apple A, apron A, banana but then you have situational. If you put an A after a W, it says wall. Or if you're dyslexic, you spell wall, W-O-L. Why would you use 2 L's when one word? Why would you use an A when an O says aw? So then after a W and then before an A. So ball, all. Well again, ball should be spelled B-O-L. B-A-L-L, right? For those of you dyslexic, you're like, thank you. So what was exciting for me when I am 43 years old, not now, not old, but 43 years old, I was in the class, and they were telling me about dyslexia and why you have to read that way. And for the first time I could understand how you read, I couldn't quit crying. I was like, okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know that's why I could read. I didn't know. Well, because I'm intelligent, I was memorizing words, I can't decode it. So your kids are learning the decoding system, and that's what's exciting for them. And they're so smart. This is harder. So also for my kids in this classroom, we had a kid make fun of them because they had to go to that other class to learn to read. So that dyslexia teacher was like, not my kids. So they asked if they could teach a dyslexia lesson in a regular classroom, and those kids were all like, that is hard. You gotta be smart to go to my class. So letting you know, it's great to educate the other kids. They don't realize that that's how your brain works. So here's that frontal lobe. Mom and Dads, this is what I want you to take home tonight. And I already had 15 parents already email me from midnight and said, we already used your strategy and one day we've seen improvement. I have been in the classroom for 13 years, so we can tell you with confidence these things work. So your child's frontal lobe is operating with color, pictures, and emotion. That is giving your child the, I always say it wrong, hold on. Rabbit trail? That's the bad one. Breadcrumb. Blah, blah. Breadcrumb trail for your child to put information in and then be able to retrieve it and pull it back out. If you do it through language, they don't know how to file it. So for instance, let's pretend my brain is actually an attic. My mom's brain would have really cool boxes and they'd be labeled. Mine is more emotionally put away. So if you say, have I met you? Okay, just say, I've met you. I would say, what's your first name? Sure, Janine. I don't know where that came from. I rename people all the time, so honey darling, that's really going to be your so I met Janine. Someone will say, did you meet Janine at the meeting? And I'll be like, you didn't? I'm like, no. Did you meet a beautiful woman with front row shadow and red shirt? I'm like, oh yeah, I talked to her. So I categorized her beautiful. I categorized her because she was intelligent and ready to have a conversation. So I put her in a place in my brain, but not where language would be. I put her with emotion. Does that make sense? So your kids are also putting things in color and emotion. So if we teach them how to put it there and pull it back out, that's how we help them study. All right, frontal lobe. This is my favorite piece of paper. I need someone to tell me time. Will you do my time clock for me? I have to what time? I'm happy to learn. 7:30? Is that right? Buckle up a little bit, just saying. The other night we went to 8. So, okay. This is my favorite piece of paper. Here's why. Because when I put this down for my students with dyslexia, and we all highlight how dyslexia has affected us, and then we hold it up, none of us look the same. So Mrs. D, I can't tell time. I can tell time, but I can't do it in the right amount. Someone says, what time is it? 3:15. That's what normal people do. I have to put my finger on the 3 and come around with my thumb by the time I'm telling them they've walked away or the time has passed, so I've got the wrong time. So I just don't wear a watch. So that affects me with my dyslexia. I couldn't understand how the lines were different and if it was above or below. It was very difficult for me to read it. So my students will highlight how it affects them. Now they see, oh, you mean there's a whole bunch of stuff and I'm only 4? Yeah. You mean that's the only thing that I really need to work on? Yeah, that's why you're in my class. The reason why I like parents to have it is when you go into that meeting, you want to give your child the right amount of accommodation. If you over-accommodate your child, you have developed dependency. We want independent children. That's my biggest slogan and push through Region 10 is independence and confidence. You want your child to be on audiobooks. You want them to learn how to get the resources that they need and not be dependent on other people. You don't want them to be, Mrs. D, I had high anxiety because I always had to have someone that would help me. What did that email say? What are we supposed to do? What are we doing? As an adult, I'm still doing that. I don't read at the rate that's expected for someone my age. So I always have someone who will read with me or for me, and they become friends, and I do things for them, they help me read. I'd rather your kid know how to do audiobooks, drop down that, get that information, independence. Although I do have a lot of great friends because I depend on a lot of people. Are going to change with your child because what if you have a great teacher who's multisensory and they didn't need the accommodations? Then the next year they're with a teacher who's less multisensory. So it's a fluid thing on what your child needs. And if they get to a class subject when they get older and the subject's more difficult, you may relook at those accommodations. But the district is walking it through with you. Work with them because you don't want to over-accommodate, you don't want to under-accommodate and then adjust as you go. So the words on the right are emotional, lazy, disrespectful, reclusive, and class clown. I educate my teachers. If you are saying those words about a kid, you may actually be seeing acceptance of failure, anger, avoidance, or acting out. It doesn't mean dyslexia or learning disability. It means that you're atypical. You want your children to be engaged and excited about being at school and learning. So if they're not, something's going on. So identification, we now have screeners in Texas. More kids are being referred and getting tested. Remediation, the classes are going to with educated dyslexia therapists who are helping your children get where they need to be with that building that language center. And then accommodations are where parents get to advocate and work with their parents or with their schools. This is one of my favorites. So I was an elementary teacher, but then they put me in high school for dyslexia. And across the hall from me was ROTC. I don't know if you've met those men. They're quite intimidating. And they were nice to me because I'm an adult, but what they were like to my freshmen, it was kind of awful. Well, one of my dyslexia kids was in there. Do you know how many directions there are in ROTC? Left, right. Well, that's kind of difficult when you're dyslexic. So who got picked on? How many kids had to do push-ups because that kid couldn't remember? How do I kids treat you now because you're the kid who doesn't remember what you're supposed to do? So now you've got stress, and now you're not performing like you'd like to perform. So his sergeant got really angry. And he said, you guys are going to know your drills. Upside and down, inside and out in your sleep. You're going to write them down backwards and bring them back to me. He meant write them down backwards like what happens last to first. But my dyslexic student actually wrote it backwards. That says, in fall, March, ranks open. Do you see it?
Yeah. Yes.
Hours. He spent, felt like I had chills. He worked on that at home. So his sergeant didn't like okay it or not noted, treat it nice. He reamed him for that. So, so we had a little talk. But letting you know, my kids are working harder than the other kids. My student really did believe that's what he meant. Processing does not just mean language, it means how I understood what you said. Make sense? So here's what's kind of exciting is how the brain processes. When I got my master's degree for dyslexia, this was the book that I read and I went, oh my goodness, this changed my life. So I said, I want every teacher I can meet to know about these next 2 pages. And so that's why I started public speaking and I'm in this position. So David Seuss's book, How the Brain Learns, says, number 1, the brain was created to seek novelty. And in this generation, they are inundated with novelty because of our cell phones. Technology is hitting them at a lot of novelty. It's actually overwhelming. Different brain, different story, different brain. The next thing the brain is supposed to do is pattern. But our patterns are different. So if I say the word cat, some of you are like, oh, I'd be a cat lady if I could, right? No one in here? No? Thank you. I'm really into it. Number 2, if I say cat, maybe you're allergic to them, you're like, I don't really have an opinion, I just can't be near them, they make me sneeze. And then some of you really believe that they are the awful animal. They're not a dog. So depending on what that pattern is for you, if I say cat, your brain went to that pattern. But they're all different. And then the brain has to protect itself. You are designed automatically, whether you like it or not, you will have fight or flight. Your body will go into a mode of saying, I'm making the decisions, not you, you're not okay, we're shutting down the systems and we're all go. Because you're in fight or flight. Actually, it's fight, or freeze. And then your brain has to develop automaticity. If I put an fMRI imaging on my head, going from my house to my work, it would be barely lighting up. Because my brain's saying, we got this. But coming to Midlothian, everything was fired. I'm very dyslexic and traveling is the hardest part of my job. Getting here is the hardest part because I did get lost 3 times inside of Midlothian, by the way. Saw a lot of beautiful neighborhoods. We got new construction, Old Town, saw it all. Anyway, 287 right 1, and then I put 287 left 1. I kept going up and down 287. Right, it's 287, right? Wrong numbers. Okay, so automaticity. My brain wants automaticity because it doesn't want to always be overworking. It wants to have system. You're wanting to eventually, so if a new job, you know how you're a little more stressed, once you've got it, you're like, I'm okay. Your brain wants automaticity. Your kids, as well as myself, and maybe one of you, because something that is inherited, doesn't develop automaticity with reading. And what do we have to do all day long? Yeah, it's kind of hard. It's a very hard place to be at school because we're constantly needing to read. So what happens to our brains is we're looking at language, it's coming in the frontal lobe. It's actually having to go through the right hemisphere and then it will go to the language center every time. So we will always have a little lower automaticity. And Sally Shaywood says we never really lessen that gap, but we never diminish a gap, but we can lessen the gap with remediation and the earlier the better. Okay? Now here's what else is crazy. Y'all are smart people, so you're gonna be like, hey, yeah, I never really thought about it that when I have a memory, that it's coming to me chemically. Like to me, not that I think there's little people in my head, but in my mind, you think of a memory and there's like, ding, there it is. It's actually when you have a memory, so right now if you think about, I don't know, think about walking in here today, because I know Leo did that. You can picture the building, you can picture you're right over here, you can picture where you're sitting, the sensory, you've got it. Well, the chemicals are creating it for you. So here's my next favorite slide. Okay, I skipped it. Did you like that? Was that fast? My favorite slide, and done. This is the one that changed my life because I am the teacher who wanted the kids who didn't like school because I didn't. So my class had about 20 kids in it and 18 won an FIU or 504. So I had a lot of kids who struggled where they had ESL, meaning bilingual, or had kids who are at risk, they had low income. Those were my kids. But my class had 2 years progress. I'd have people come to my room and go, oh, did you get the GT cluster? I'm like, no. Oh, you have a really good parent? No, I have parents who aren't here. How do you have this progress? I'm like, I have no idea. Didn't make sense to me. Same curriculum, same trainings, actually same lesson plans. We shared lesson plans. Why? Not make sense. Until I saw this model. So I'll tell you the ending soon. So the very beginning is you have environmental coming into you. Right now you can feel your seat, we've got the air, we've got the lights, environment's coming into you, and your brain is automatically telling you whether you're not in fight, flight, or freeze. Right now we're safe, we're okay. So our brain's like, I'm good. Right? Then it goes into immediate memory. Right now your brain is deciding whether or not you want to keep the information. If you're here because you were drug here, you might be doing your grocery list or working on what you're doing this weekend, but you're looking at your drug. But you're not here. That's okay. The other thing that's happening right there is when you've had a memory, let's say you are interested, you do want to hear about dyslexia, but you're not going to remember about my shoes, right? Your brain has to delete some information. It can't hold everything. Unless you saw my shoes and were like, oh my gosh, I love your shoes. You saved it. So right now you are patterning what you're going to like and not like or what you're going to keep or not keep. So you're deleting right now and you're keeping right now. The stuff that you're saying, hey, I want to keep that, you're putting it in working memory. Working memory, I'm just giving you a number. This is not an actual number, but let's say you have 10 buckets in working memory. Inside your 10 buckets, if you have a learning disability, you have less. Do y'all have something to write with? Okay, I'm going to make you write something down here. See, I love that. Awesome. I miss being an elementary teacher. NESSY. it's messy. And then the working memory. And there's a video for your kids to watch. It's about working memory for kids with dyslexia, and it will better explain what I'm saying right now. So I do have my high school and my elementary kids watch that video. So your working memory is learning disability less buckets. If you have trauma, this is more for us adults, but also for young kids that are going through divorce, or they're not eating, or if they have a trauma going on, there's anything going on that's traumatic. Even for us adults, if we have not dealt with it, meaning I see that trauma, this is what happened to me. I have received and embraced the things that have happened. I've grown from it. Now I can put it in long term. If you have not had that moment for yourself, it is still in your working memory. So those buckets are full. Then, if you've got life going on, I don't know, bills and got to get to soccer and basketball and blah, 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 right? Whatever life is, it's full. So you only have a little bit of room to take in more information. That's why all of us as adults are saying we are overwhelmed. That's why your kids are saying you're overwhelmed. Novelty is coming at us so fast, we're overwhelmed. When working memory patterns, remember I told you we pattern the patterns at nighttime, or for your kids, daydreaming. So when you see a kid or an adult, myself right now, if you see them kind of like this, I'm sorry, what? I patterned it. I was overwhelmed, I was full. So when my students, I'm teaching with them and they're giving me the look of, I'm not really here to see. I'm like, you know what, that's okay. That means you might need a break. Well, you go in the hallway and get a drink and come back, but I'll let you know if we want to start back. You might have too much going on. So I had high school kids, they have a lot going on. So I have a relationship with them. If you're not okay, then we don't need to continue. Elementary school, we usually do pretty good and stay on track. But if they are daydreaming, I ask, are you okay? What's going on? So we may have a pause. If we're pausing a lot, we have a conference with the parents. Does that make sense? So working memory is looking at that information. So now if you like what you're saying, you think it's good information, you're connecting it to, you're like right now you might go, oh, that is me. Oh, yes. You decided to put it in long-term memory. And now I can pull it out and put it back in. But if you're dyslexic, the way you put it in that long-term memory, you might just be throwing it in that attic. And I want to teach you how to put it in the attic where you can find it again. Make sense? Okay. Now the really cool part. To finish the story why I had this really great classroom and success. There's two types of chemicals. So you have endorphins, which are woohoo, right? When you have woohoo chemicals, long-term memory was like, because remember it's to protect itself. Long-term memory is going, oh yes, oh my gosh, that is so good. I love basketball, or I love puppies, I love Mrs. D. Whatever you love, it's open. Open door, come on in. If you have cortisol, which is a stress hormone, and it's to protect itself, it blocks off long-term memory. It says, this is not good for you. We are not going here. We cannot pick up a cat. Cats bite. Cats are evil. It protected you. We cannot do that, right? So, if you're in a learning environment and reading causes you stress, what's happening to you at school? You're blocking long-term memory retrieval. So what is test anxiety? It means that on Thursday night you knew all your spelling words, but on Friday you didn't. It's because you've got stress hormones. So when you have stress hormones going up, it's blocking long-term memory, and your child and myself cannot get to the information. But as soon as they're out of the stress, they're like, oh my gosh, I totally knew that name. Oh, I totally knew how to spell that. What was my deal? So it happened in my second grade classroom because we were called Camp D. We had matching t-shirts. We had a cookout at the end of the year. I changed how we did awards. I don't do academic awards. I do a goal award and a character award. Everyone has good character and everyone has a goal to achieve. So we only had 2 awards for every kid. And then we had the best kid, y'all are gonna know this part. We counted Mrs. D's mistakes. We had tons of those. So Ron Clark is an academy for great teachers, and so he defined what a great teacher is. So I can tell you I'm a great teacher. They make the most mistakes because they're the teacher willing to try something new. That was my class. They made a lot of mistakes. So they would count them in my room. And the other cool thing is I would tell them, I said, guys, don't tell all the other teachers because they're going to make a mistake. We get pets. What? We get pets in our room. I'm like, no way. I have a bowl full of erasers. And it would be bouncing around like, oh, which one's going in there? Okay, which one's yours? Which one? Get it. And I'd say, guys, the best part is you get more than one pet as long as you're loving on it. May name them, this one's pig. So they would name it, and if I saw them with their pet, that was so good. What was I saying was good in my room? Making mistakes. What does the STAR test say? Sorry, I probably should not have negative attitude about it. Oh, you don't? You feel like I feel like it?
Yes.
Yeah. I have so many stories on that, I just don't have time. If I had all day long, you'd hear some good ones. But anyway. So making mistakes, when my kids were making mistakes, which chemical was in their brain? Endorphins. And when my kids made mistakes, they'd say, Mrs. D, guess what? I made a mistake. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, what was it? What was it? I didn't even regroup. And I'm like, yes, who else didn't regroup? You didn't either? Man, we are learning in here. They had a different idea about what it looked like to make a mistake. And they had a different idea about what it meant to erase. So guess what my kids love to do in my class? Learn. So we had about 2 years progress in my classroom just by changing the attitude of my kids. And when they came to my class every single day, no matter what my biologicals had done to me, biologicals, I'm a mom. When I'm a teacher, they obey. When I'm a mom, they do not. So get your toothbrush, get your backpack, they shouldn't even, I'm like, I'm the teacher at our school, come on! And then I could just go and I was all this nice person. Anyway. So I'd be in the, no matter what my biologicals did, I'd be in the hallway and I'd be like, oh, come on, oh, y'all had your soccer game. I can't wait till Sherry comes. Oh, can't wait. I heard you guys got a puppy. You got a game. Tell us the name and we'll get to the time. You were here yesterday. Are you okay? Oh, see this a lot? You guys laugh. When you don't go to school and the teacher notices, that means a lot. So I love telling them, are you okay? I noticed you're not here. So when my kids came to the room and learning, I loved them. So we did share time before we ever started the day, because you know what? It doesn't matter what we're learning. It matters that you're here and I love you. I'm so glad you're a part of my classroom because work can't be. That gave them the right chemicals for them to learn. So I'm going to jump ahead, but that's why I'm so proud of the mentor program I do help both kids to do. So your classes in Midlothian, just by being in this building, you all have fire drills, lockdowns, safety, doors. You are very physically safe. The safety I'm talking about is emotional. If you have a learning disability inside of a classroom where the teachers don't understand or care, then it's I think they all care. They don't understand and don't know how to help, then that's going to change the environment for your child. So executive function, you guys might not know that word, but what you do know is when your teacher said, or when you tell your child, go get your socks, put them on, brush your teeth, come back in here, and you find them in the bathroom playing with soap. Yeah? Executive function. So what happens is your child has a processing disorder, and you need to learn that process may start with one direction only. But until you teach them that that's what you're doing, they aren't going to know it. So my son, in high school, made some choices, and I said, Michael, why didn't you think that through? I did. What were you thinking? It's fun, and I wasn't going to die. I'm like, okay, he thought it through. So what I'm telling you is now that I've learned in hindsight, you want to start teaching your children. I did my high school students how to process out. And so I let them have I will talk about choice. The first thing, the most powerful thing you can do to anybody is choice. Adults, if you do not like driving in traffic and everyone on the road doesn't know how to drive but you, that is choice, because I can tell you living in a metroplex, someone's going to cut you off, be on their phone, you're going to have a bottleneck, and someone's going to speed around you and someone's going to go too slow. Promise you. The fact that it upsets you is on you. You are choosing to be upset over something you know is going to happen. Same thing for our kids. It is a choice. Just like, don't get a commercial. So here's how I teach dyslexia for your children and for you. Dyslexia is nothing more than wearing glasses. I have poor vision, and I would not have apologized to any of you for it. I was born with very poor vision. If they didn't have technology, I would be so big, you all would be like, wow. I mean, pull them off, you're not people anymore. You're just color. So I'm very blind, but I don't owe you an apology for that, do I? I should not come to you, I'm really sorry, I gotta wear my glasses tonight, I just have really poor vision, right? I am also not allowed to not wear my glasses. I would not have a job, I would not be able to drive. That would be my choice to not wear my glasses. Your child has dyslexia, it's a learning disability. It affects their reading and related process. They don't owe anybody an apology for it, but they also have to be responsible for that accommodation and advocating for themselves. So they need to own it, and they don't need to overwear it. So put it in the right place if your child has balance. Okay? So when you teach them to process, same thing, your child needs to own their process. If you are only able to process one thing out, I love you and that's okay, but I'm gonna let you own that one process. Are you ready to know two? No, not yet. Okay, I'll allow them to make a choice. They're never gonna learn it if you make it. If you say you will have to, guess what? They're gonna show you. So go ahead and let them have that ownership of the choice. And then once they learn two, then what do you want to ask them? Would you like to learn three? But you've got to train process. So when you train process, my own child said, Mom, whatever, but as a teacher, my students started learning how to recognize and have metacognition. Metacognition is when they have awareness. I recognize that you yawn and you daydream the most in math from what you're telling me. I am. I think that's the class we need a tutor in your grade. Yeah, I don't think I like it. I don't connect to the teacher. Then let's talk about a different way we go to tutorials. So self-actualization is, I'm not the one with a problem. I'm not a problem. I have a problem. See how we pull that away from themselves? Me as a dyslexic, I thought, and I will say this in front of you kids, because I've said it to my elementary kids. I used to always say I was smart enough to know I was stupid. That's how I saw myself. And now that I know it's just dyslexia, I know I'm extremely intelligent. I just think different. So I don't have a problem with me. I have a problem I have to solve. Self-actualization. That creates self-esteem. I have more independent and confident students because they understand where dyslexia fits in their life and what they can do to help them. There's a lot of things, and I also teach my kids, everyone's got something. Yours happens to be identified and can be remediated. Piece of cake. Yes, it affects reading. We have audiobooks. Don't overweigh it. So then my kids become independent and confident. This is the choice that I give my kids. Does this end at 7 or 7:30?
7:30.
What time? 7:30. Okay, I don't do well with time, I told you, right? So y'all gonna help me. Every once in a while I'll freak myself out. Okay. So in high school, I told my kids that Mrs. D was, how many of y'all know what Dave Ramsey is? Financial peace? Okay, I had to go with Dave Ramsey. Didn't want to. So I'm at Target, I gotta go get the Dave Ramsey wallet. And I'm driving around the parking lot, and I'm an elementary teacher, so I follow the rules. And I don't know what it is about me, but I could have parked at the very back and walked in and got my stuff and come back out in the time it took me to find the parking spot I wanted, but I did anyway. So I'm waiting, I have my parking spot, I'm waiting, I've got my blinker on, I have been patient, and then this car pulls in to take my spot. And I'm like, I've been patient, follow the rules, and I'm about to be on Dave Ramsey. Oh no. So when they pulled out, I pulled a fried green tomatoes, and I slammed on the gas, and I ran my car around and hit the car next to me. I know, right? So I'm like, hey, it's already a bad day. So I go into Target, and I was like, please call license tag, blah, blah, blah. I saw she had a sticker from a church that's in my neighborhood. So she comes out, she got this cart full of beautiful shams and beautiful pillows and beautiful rugs. I was like, oh, that's your thing. And so we're walking out, I said, oh, your cart. She's like, no, it's not. I was like, okay. So I go out and look at everything, and I said, I would love to tell you that my child was sick or my mom's in the hospital, but pride, I hit your car and I'm very sorry. And she was like, oh no, that's fine. Oh no, it's not fine, here's my insurance. She goes, I don't even take your insurance. I was like, no, I hit your car, I'm very sorry. And she said, well, and I said, I'm on Dave Ramsey. And she said, well, I'm on Dave Ramsey too. And I was in there having a conversation with God. And I was saying, Lord, I cannot have small group unless I have these beautiful pillows. And he said, you do not need those pillows. But they do go with my decor. And God said, no, you are not going to buy those pillows. She's like, Lord. And then she hears, license tag. So she said, no, I think we're both just going to let this go. So I told my students, when I hit that car, I was being immature. But because I have character, I told on myself and made sure I did the right thing. You're going to continue to go in between immature and mature. But what I will not let you do is to say you didn't have control or you didn't have a choice. You always, always have a choice. Unbroken, I don't know if y'all seen that movie. He was in a circumstance he didn't want to be in, but he always had a choice of his mind. So I tell my kids, are you emotionally reacting or thoughtfully responding? Are you finding excuses or opportunities? Are you all about yourself or do you put yourself others before you? Do you need to be heard or do you hear others? Do you think you know everything, or do you want to know more? Those are the aspects that I find for my high school kids, how to help them. So this is the book, The Happiness Hypothesis, and the very last chapter, this is what it said and what that's true. Choice is the most powerful thing we can give anybody because it empowers them. When you're empowered, you have confidence and you find purpose in your life, that's when you have happiness. So I give this to my high school kids when they first get to my classroom because many of them, when I didn't identify till later, and they have the secondary characteristics of dyslexia and they're very frustrated because it's very difficult. So here's what I teach my kids, and I'd like to teach you, is to be calm. When you're in traffic, when whatever you know stimulates that anger or frustration for you, you are choosing it. When that one person comes at Christmas time and they say the things that drive you nuts, you already know they're coming, and you already know they say the things that make you nuts. So who's really not in control? You. You have a choice to respond or react, always. So what you do is you stay calm. So when you take a breath in, when you are blowing out cortisol as stress hormone. So you really are thinking better. When your stress levels are high, cortisol is high, your ability to reason goes down. So if I can get your cortisol levels down, then I can help you start thinking and be okay. That is on you. So when my kids, I then worked with kids with autism, and they would get very stressed out. And the first thing I do is I change their body. Because if I change your body from stress, you're welcome to stay mad, but I need your shoulders down. Well, I don't know. I was mad. The body changes, right? The other thing, there's a study about 10 people going into an interview. 5 of them had to sit like this with their legs crossed and their hands crossed, fetal position. 5 of them had to stand like Superman. Who got the jobs? The Superman. Your body posture changes how your emotions, which changes the chemicals, changes how you respond in life. So change your body posture. So if you're all stressed out, get your shoulders down. Relax a little bit. So I teach my kids these techniques before STAR or before Friday's test. Just relax. Just relax your body. Even if you don't make a 100, if you don't make the A, or let's say you don't even make a 70. All right, that means we can come back and study again. We've got this. My kids, we do 4 practice STAR tests. We have a piece of candy, elementary school, this was high school, we don't have it in elementary. They'll give you, we do Jolly Ranchers. They go into the room that they have. I made sure my kids knew their testing center beforehand, so that one more piece they could relax. I knew the center where they were gonna be. Mrs. D acted like the, please put your backpack in prison. Please put your backpack to the front, please do not talk to your phone. Treatment. So they would do it back to that. We practice with the Jolly Rancher. Because the sensory, I said, when you have that Jolly Rancher, you are to tell yourself, I am confident and this test does not measure who I am. I am confident this test does not measure who I am. We've got this. Mrs. D's got me strategies and I'm prepared. And I give them a list of how we're prepared before we go in there. And they write stuff down before they ever take the test. It just relaxes them. So I had a student who had to take the STAR test, English 1, 10 times. And she was senior now. She has a 3.5 GPA. She's one of the starters on our softball team, and her character cannot be matched. An amazing kid. But she wasn't going to walk across the stage because of STAR English 1. So we found out that they now start past where you can do a project. So there's a project that you can do to graduate. So I got to pull her aside and say, you're going to walk the stage. Mrs. D, but I'm not. But I'm not. I'm like, I'm telling you, you're going to walk. You are going to walk. Guess what she did to that test? She passed it. Because the pressure had finally come off of her and she could do it. So there's a big, huge thing to do with this. You can Google it and get if you put Google breathing squares, there's all different kinds with different postures, different ages appropriate. But you hold in, you breathe in 4, hold it for 4, let out for 4, hold out for 4, and you do that 5 times. And that's how you get that body right back in balance. Power of positive attitude. So I hope what you're getting out of this is your attitude is controlling you, not your attitude. Oh wait, let me say it right. Attitude controls the brain, not the brain controls your attitude. I can't tell you when kids come in and say, I can't help it. I'm like, I'll let you say I'm choosing it, but you can help it. I don't mind if you choose it. Like you're about to go to the EAP for what you're doing right now, but I'm okay. I'll love you over there too. You're about to raise your car keys from your mom. I get it. But I'm not going to let you say you can't help it. But that teacher makes me so mad. He does say bad things, but you choose the anger. I'm going to let you own that. Everything is a choice. So when I teach my kids that, guess what? They start being more empowered. They make better decisions. And we actually start seeing what teachers are not in control. So here's how I help your kids. So this is a brain app. We did this in my dyslexia class, and it can work for you, it can work for any of you. Your children speak app. They speak technology. So what I do for my kids is I ask them to create from the frontal lobe a way to put information in and to take it back out. So I will ask them, let's say if you're wanting them to get their chores done at home, ask them to create an app. They are to put a color to it and a picture to it. Now that means chores. In my dyslexia class, we have all different things. We have comprehension, decoding, spelling, we have different elements. So I'm like, I would like you to put a picture in a square for spelling, please. What is your color? Yellow? Sorry, I'm going to speak for you. This is like pretty fast. It's like, I didn't know the role playing. We didn't talk about it. A lot of pressure. So then I said, okay, yellow. And then I said, what's your picture? And my student said, bricks. I was like, oh, okay, how come? Because, well, let's think about it. She said, I hate yellow and I am blocked with spelling. I'm like, awesome. So all I had to do is say, okay, dyslexia clap first, I engage you. I'm so glad you're here, you matter. Second thing I do is it's choice. No matter what's going in your brain, I can't control it. If you'd like to be engaged, I have things to teach you. If today's not your day, just let me know ahead of time. That way we don't waste our time. That's okay. It's a choice. I mean, you cannot make anybody learn anything. So, okay, Mrs. D, I'm engaged. Thanks for going to my ball game. I went to something for every single one of my kids. Never missed something. If they just work, it's at their place, eating a hamburger at the Burger King. You know, whatever. Because I need to tell you, you matter to me, and then guess how much they perform for me and those kids. I mean, to be a high school kid going through those kids and doing the alphabet, a lot of credit to them. I love them. Anyway, miss them. So we'll go to dyslexia class. I'm like, okay, we both agree. Relationship is there. We've engaged each other. You've made a choice. Will you click on your spelling app? She went right to her yellow brick wall. Okay, what did we learn yesterday? I had taught her how to attach it. That garage, I gave her the boxes to put it in the garage the right way. It goes right in there and she can pull it up. They can see it. They pictured it and colored it. Remember, color pictures in emotion. Your kids can remember it. Spelling, your kids, the way they got tested for dyslexia, when they first said, my kid can read refrigerator, they just can't read up. Right? My kid does read, they're not dyslexic, they just can't do where and were and the and that. Let me tell you why. Their frontal lobe memorized because they can see and understand refrigerator, and they pattern it. They did not decode the word, they memorized the word. That's because your kids are brilliant and smart. The language center doesn't know where to put the word love. What is it? Velocity of is UV. Why do you spell it what? What is that? Right, that's all. So there's no place to put it. I'm going to show you a way tonight. If you do the way I teach it, you can get 5 words in a week. It's made up 80% of what your kids read. You'll help them with fluency. So I do recommend you do it. It only works if parents do it the way it's taught. So I had a parent email me. He said, oh my gosh, morning is always awful with our kid. 100% improvement. So they went in and they gave their child, they said, do you want to breakfast first or get dressed? Did I say that right? And so you're okay. So he said, his son was like, breakfast? He was like, okay. He said, I turned around, he got dressed, got his backpack, and had his shoes. Because what did we give him first? Choice. And parents, you're in control because you're giving the boundaries of choice. You didn't say, what do you want to do? You said, you want to do this or this. Same thing. So in my classroom, my kids have this. Oh, I don't know where it works. Whatever. The very top one, gather. I teach my kids how to process information. They don't understand. I have high school kids who are like, we had a test on Friday. I think you have a test on Friday every time in that class. I know. And yet it irritates you. So I'm like, okay, that's where you're at. I'll meet you there. So you know what? If he has one every Friday, what do you think is going to happen next Friday? Weird, right? So he didn't process it. They just went in there, and you know why? Let's give them some credit. I gave a lot of forgiveness to my son. I forgot to tell you one of the most important things. Did you see when all the information was coming in with the sensory? Do you remember that? And that very first part where you want to decide or not, and then you have working memory? In the decide or not right there, at the age of 5, your brain develops how to sort on its own. If it didn't develop, you have ADD or ADHD. All stimulation is going into working memory. So you're always overwhelmed, it's always too much, you're processing everything. That's why I get so easily distracted. It made me have an office at the door because I talk too much. But if someone goes by, I'm like, hey, right? It's because I don't know how to stop being interacting. All stimulation is always going to my brain. I don't sort by myself. That's why usually I don't know where to find this. I cannot tell you how many times I'm speaking. I'm like, where's my clicker? And they're like, over there. So now what I'm trying to do is I designate a process. I designate a spot where I'm going to put it down and keep it there. I found a strategy for myself. Makes sense? So you want to teach them how to process information. So color, pictures, and emotion are going to help your kids. Metacognition, it's letting you know if I store it, where did I store it, how did I store it, those apps help. I mean, you need to teach them how to retrieve it. So give them the strategy of, hey, tonight I need you to do 3 things. Do you want my help, or do you think 3 is enough? Or do you want to do 2 at a time and then come back? You can go ahead. What do you want to do 2 or 3? You just want to do 2? Okay. After the 2, then you'll come back, or I'll check for you. Is that okay? You're teaching them that they get to own it. You're said to, will you go get your backpack and put it by the door? And then I need you to get your lunch out. Is that good? Might not hold those, so when you tell a story, so I'll say, you know what, pretend your backpack's a monster on your back, and it's got to get off of you, put it by the door, and then go get your lunch because the monster's hungry. They're done. Mom, got it. What did I do? I went through frontal lobe, told a story, association, put the backpack away, got their lunch, and the kid's feeling confident. Hey, you know what, you did such a good job. Do you want to try 3 next time? That was really good. They did a good job. Praise what they do not overpraise. You should never tell a kid, like I do say awesome, but when you're trying to build character, build a skill, praise only the skill. Do not tell your child you are an awesome speller when you're not there yet. Say, I noticed that you got more right than you did last week. I noticed you remembered your double L's. I noticed you praise what their skill is developing. Do not overpraise, because then you don't have credibility. And then the last part is express. Kids do not know, dyslexic kids have a hard time processing that the teacher's going to then ask you to do something. They don't realize that. So they gave you information, you work with the information, now you've got to show them what information you learned. So they will test you, have a project, have a poem, but they have to know that how. So how can you support the kids? This is a poster for STARS. For a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. Okay, so that's why it's not fair. I've always said, why are we taking a reading exam where we don't read well? Like, I don't understand why the STAR test, they don't do it the way we do it. But one of my students said, Mrs. D, the fish can climb the tree. And I went, I love you. Please explain. And she said, put the tree sideways in the river. That's called an accommodation. So I was like, I'm going to use that poster everywhere to get her things. I'm like, she's pretty awesome. She's in college. So here's what you guys need to do. Please, 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 please hear me. You are the young dyslexia parents. You are to have a folder. And that folder goes all the way through college. My daughter's in college. I knew my parents weren't going to, they didn't understand to do it. So I created a folder for all my kids in high school for when their parents called and said, oh, we didn't make a folder. I know. So I'm not there now, but I still have all my kids just in case. But anyway, I love them. Have a folder every time you go to that 504 meeting. That way you can know what accommodations work. Some accommodations you don't need. The 3 most common are oral administration, note exchange, and extended time. The other one I really do enjoy is peer check for understanding, because I had a peer for check for understanding. One of my favorite 3rd grade, most popular girl in school was Jennifer Parker. She was beautiful, perfect, everything amazing. And they changed our buildings, and so they sat her in front of me. Like the most popular girl was sitting in front of me. So I was like, I am going to invite her to spend that. It's Jennifer Parker. What? I said, do you want to spend the night with me? Yes or no? She writes, by the way, she was our valedictorian and started the World Wide Web, banking on the World Wide Web at Princeton. Listen, very smart girl. So she wrote, do you mean wood as in bark of a tree, W-O-O-D, or wood as in permission, W-O-U-L-D? I was like, oh, she's weird. Do you want to come to my house or not? So we're still best friends. In fact, I talked to her when I came in here. She was my oral accommodation. She's the one that said, Nancy, you can take AP classes. Park her I'm not smart enough for AP. She goes, yes, you are. No, she goes, we'll study at my house. So I took AP classes because Jennifer Parker thought I was smart. So the teacher, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yep, not listening anymore. I don't even know what she's saying. I don't know what this is. Parker would turn around and go, we'd go to her house. She would explain it to me. I did fine. I could be in that class. She was my oral accommodation. She saw I was smart. I didn't know what. You know what I'm saying? So I like that peer accommodation. The teacher's getting permission to have a buddy to help you with that. I needed someone to translate, to go at the pace I needed. So when you get to high school, letting you know, I was smart enough for AP classes, but the rigor of that is too much. I only took 1 or 2. So I encourage my parents, know that area that your kids want to study. If your child only took 1 at a time, they could do all 4. But because we do have a stamina issue with reading and there's rigor in those classes, be mindful of what you're doing emotionally to your child. So I'm just always cautious. You guys are like, we're not even there yet, but it will come. 504 accommodations have them. Document these strategies because 1 year you need it, next year different teacher. Just be working with your school. Go to trainings like we're doing tonight, gave you to the parents. Join a parent organization. I would encourage you guys, if we do the mentor program in Midlothian, we're going to need some parents. The sustainability of this depends on our parents. I had a parent group that was helping me. They sponsored our shirts. They sponsored our bus trip. They sponsored what we did. We couldn't have done it without our parents. Sustainability is you guys being involved. Can't talk high enough about it. And involve your child. My students, because a lot of them, their parents weren't involved. Freshman year, intimidated, anxiety, frustrated. Senior year, ran that 504 meeting. They're like, I got this. I'm like, I know. I don't know if y'all gotten it yet. Have you gotten it maybe? The newsletter? Have y'all gotten that yet? No. Some yes, some no. The Region 10, because I was a parent first, well actually I was dyslexic first, but parent, when I was struggling as a parent, I asked Region 10, can we please have a parent newsletter? And by the way, I don't like reading, so can it all be video? You don't want to make you read, I don't want to read. So it's videos introducing you to different strategies. Some of the things that you guys are learning tonight are going to be coming up on these videos. And then the mentor program, I'm going to tell you very quickly. How many of you all know who Ethan Couch is? He is the person who got off for affluenza, who killed the people. And my students were in that car. So it was very devastating. And though their lives changed forever from that night. I kept telling him, please do not put my name as school mom. I was like, school mom is saying do not go to his house. I'm telling you, do not go there. So it didn't happen that weekend, the very next week, and I got all the texts coming from me, it's so bad, it's so bad. So after a lot of therapy and a lot of us healing, one of them said, Mary Brokenbach, she gets all the credit. She said, you know, Dee, my life might have been different if I had someone telling me in 5th grade I could have made it. So we started a mentor program. So she gets all the credit. We started with 20 kids. We grew to 160, and we had activities where the high school kids would come down, and this really cool football player, baseball player, color guard, show choir, anything that they were involved in, were just, hey, I go to school. All these kids were coming in and going, oh yeah, I saw Star 3 times, to a 5th grader. You found Star? Yeah. I thought my high schoolers were helping my junior high kids, my elementary kids, but guess what happened when they came back to high school? Dee, I had no idea how far I had come. I didn't know I could do it. I didn't realize how sad I was and how much I was hiding my disability. I feel so good now. But then they said, Miss Dee, I can't go to college. So guess what I did? I had my college students come down to my high school, and then I had us tour colleges together. So that was also part of our mentor group. So it's very powerful because remember I told you what was the most important is the emotion. And when I go around and talk to my teachers and I come speak at schools, how come are you here? None of them say, well, I really like the alignment of their students. Not one of them have ever said that. Or I'll say, why are you at this school? Not one of them have ever said, well, you know, I really think the principal has the right alignment to his end of the year discussion. They stay because they feel welcome. They feel a part of it. They feel connected. They love their principal. They like their teachers. It is always emotion first. So why would we not do that for our kids? My mom was highlighting my strengths because I am pretty funny. Like y'all get a little bit of imperfect. Like so funny. But you gotta be funny when you, oh, did I already tell y'all? No, I don't think I told you. 7th grade, did I tell you already? Yeah, I did. I misspelled my campaign, on a campaign poster. I had 900 kids in my class, and I'm up there, and they're all laughing. I'm like, and I didn't have my glasses on because no one wore glasses back then. Do you think I can see? I'm really thick. So I'm like, why is everybody laughing? And they're like, you spelled your own name. I'm like, I might not know how to spell, but I'm a lot of fun. Vote Nancy Jones. I won. If I called Jennifer Parker and put her on speakerphone, she'd say, hey, Nackney. That's what I go by. So I'm Nackney. You're welcome to call me Nackney. I'm like, oh, you know me. So I do go by Nackney. So where was I even going with that? Oh, funny. My mom was highlighting my strengths, but in my head, guess what I heard? If they're smart, that means I am dumb. So my mom trying to say that? Not at all. My mom loves me. But that's not what I heard. So I was always insecure. I always second guess myself. I never feel like I can achieve or accomplish. I always feel like there's no way I can do it. So when I got to Region 10, the very first thing I did is I made sure I had some that would help me read. My first teaching job, I didn't want to read email. Do you know how fast email comes? It never stops. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't read that. Teach, teach, teach. There's 24. Oh my gosh. Teach, teach, teach. It's multiplying, it's gremlins. I'm like, what is going on here? See, only the older ones kind of know. Did you hear that? The laughter is only that big. Yeah, 50. Anyway, so I am, so I'm looking at all these emails, so I don't want to read them all, so I look at one, I'm reading it, and I'm like, okay, wear pajamas tomorrow. Got it. Teach, teach, teach. I don't have time to finish my email. I've got kids, I got stuff to do, and I really do not want to read. I got to school the next day, fully in my pajamas. The other email said, how about let's do it next week? So I go to my principal and I went, I am okay with this, are you? She's like, wear it, Nancy. So the little kindergarten's like, Mrs. Jones, she's in her pajamas. Why? She was like, it's okay, it's okay. Comfortable, right? So my mistake, I became funny, connecting with people. So I'm so thankful now I have dyslexia. I'm grateful I'm in Texas. But those are the things I want the kids to be talking about in the mentor program. And walking through it. Libraries. What's my time? Okay, I'm still going to do. So I get the job at Region 10. They put me next to the librarian. Really? Put me next to PE. Why am I next to the librarian, right? So I walk in there, and her whole wall is all books. And I'm in there. But I do love to read now. I will tell you, I do brag. I used to not read ever unless I was forced to. And I've read over 35 books since I became an adult because now I know how to read into code. So it really has become, I'm never without a book. Actually, I missed a plank the other day because I was reading. I was so proud of myself. I was like, I was reading, I'm sorry, I missed my plank. I was reading. What, you crazy lady, you not even care. So I go in the library and I'm looking and I was like looking at her and I said, oh yeah, this is so nice. She's like, kind of proud of the library mission. And I was like, oh, and I said, I hated the library. She went, you know, like someone's like, always watching. Yeah. So I was like, oh, and she goes, that was offensive. I went, huh? You too, what do you think? Like, so like, I didn't mean it offensive. It's just I have dyslexia, so you know, I didn't really like the library. She goes, do you know how hard we work? Like everybody liked the library, and I went, do you know so do dentists? And she was like, and I said, yeah, if you're not athletic and you have a physical disability, what room do you think you hate? The gym. Yeah. She teared up. She's like, Nancy, I never did that. I said, do you want to know what y'all do to us? She goes, tell me. Let me know. And I was like, yeah, you know what y'all do? You're like, hey, Nancy, you need to get that book on HG and then 007 and it's nonfiction. Fiction, nonfiction, how are you supposed to know? Like, non means no, don't, but then it means it is. I don't understand. Fiction's, oh, I don't get it, right? So I don't even know nonfiction. Fiction, and then you're telling me GHO. So what do? I'm an actress. Okay. This is just pretending I'm not reading. I can't find it. I didn't even really look for it because I'm not going to read sideways. So then I was like, I can't even read this way. Why do you think I can read that way? Oh, and by the way, now I'm this way, different font, big font, little font, big font, cursive, not cursive, green, pink. I can't read that, right? And my elementary kids, am I right? It is very hard to read in the library. But then when you ask them for help, they're like, I told you last week where that was. They're like, so apparently it didn't catch on. But you can't thank you. I want everyone to know that. Right, so the library, who wants to go in there? Not me, right? So I told her that she is crying now. She's like, I have no idea. I was like, yeah. So she said, we are going to do a campaign. I'm like, yeah, we are. So May 1st is a podcast coming out by us about librarians. This story will be told. I'm going to speak to all the librarians in Region 10 in August. We have a poster coming out about audiobooks and how cool they are. And we are putting audio stickers on there, so that's cool. And they're going to learn how to help. My high school kids, in our mentor program, one of our activities, my high school kids did not want to go in the library. So we had the librarian shut down the library and just us got to ask questions. Fiction, nonfiction, I don't really understand. I don't really understand how it's broken up. I can't read your Dewey Decimal System, right? I don't know that stuff. Am I smart? Yes, I am. Am I creative? Yes, I am. Can I think? Yes, I can. Do I participate in class? Yes, I do. Do I love to learn? Absolutely. Can I read really well? No. So our librarian, we had a pass that had a D on it. My kids gave them a D. She went and found the books for them. She did anything she could to serve my students. The library was a cool place and a safe place for my kids emotionally. So we're going to be talking to the librarian. Hey, guess what else? I want to get another piece of paper where the parents know about the library. And I was like, paperwork. They need so much less paperwork. So you guys are going to get a letter at your meetings that says, please introduce yourself to the librarian. They are not a teacher of record. They can't know that your child has a disability. That's against FERPA. They don't know. So when they say, go get that, well, that's not because your librarian doesn't care. You have to go talk to the librarian. Is it okay if maybe after school we can meet with you just to hear and learn about your books? I hope they say to you now, I would love that. So start that relationship with the library, make that a positive place for your kids. I know it was not a positive place for me. Yeah, I agree. Jennifer Parker and I went to go check out books in 3rd grade. I was brilliant because who would check out a book that had words in it? Not me. Parker was reading chapter books, and I felt so sorry for her. Her parents wouldn't let her have picture books. So we went to check out, and we were like, oh, is that your book? I felt sorry for her. She felt sorry for me. I mean, I had no idea. Why would you want to do a chapter book? Why would you read a book without pictures? But I eventually got there. So I've told you already about backing up time that you have to teach your kids. Going a little fast. This is qubits. They're up here. These are just things that your kids are going to excel at. Go ahead and give them some things that are strengthening them. They have difficulty with heart to whole. So the IQ challenge and the art first, just go online. Someone emailed me this morning, where are they? Just look at an IQ challenge. They have the kids transfer shapes in a row. They're training that brain just to look at little things that become something larger. So I highly recommend those activities for your kids. That's test I've already gone over. Cover overlays do not help with decoding, but they do help with stamina. Your kids do not like white paper with black ink. They do better when things are colored and broken down for them. It's more. And the other cool thing, if you had a boss that said, hey, I'm here to help you, let me know. Good boss. What if you had a boss that said, hey, I'm going to show up at your meeting and I'm going to set the tables for you? Which is the better boss? The available one or the one that's actually helping? So parents, your most important role is you need to have the cover overlays. You need to do the highlighting. I love doing this with my kids. I have them highlight before they ever read, and we go through the words that they know first. And I'm like, just look at the words you know. We color that one color. Okay, now what pulls out to you now? Oh, I know the ones with the endings. Once they've looked at the words first like that and analyzed it with you, then read, they're ready. And the colors don't matter, doesn't matter how you're doing it, but interact with your print before you do it. Don't do it everything you read, just have an activity that they're going to do it. They also do better if you enlarge the print. This is what you can do for your children, and they will love you and thank you. When they come home for homework, you have choice. Do you want to do your homework now, or do you want to wait till after snack? Your kids, remember I told you, they are working harder than the other kids. They really are worn out. You also don't know how they were emotionally. You didn't know today that teacher called on them to read out loud. They're not supposed to. They forgot. Teachers didn't mean to be malicious. It just happened. Bad day, right? Give them that space. Hey, you want to do the top part or the bottom part before you go play outside? Do you want mom to highlight it, or do you want to highlight it? What highlighting does, when you have a white piece of paper with black ink, they're overwhelmed. It's too much work. Draw a line in half. No, they only have 2 sections. I can do that. Now, if you highlight and you point things, that first one, I highlighted the same things that the math problem's asking for. I highlighted to match. You may be highlighting all the way through high school. You're teaching your child that they can be independent and confident. They just need that strategy. I can't read without highlighting. It is how I read, still to this day. The money, I don't want to look and see if the head was a nickel or a dime. I want to look at the size and shape, and then I want to color it, and that way I can do all my math a lot faster. You're increasing that rate and processing rate for them. That paper over the edge, can't tell you how many kids are like, Mom, this is too much work. Highlight, highlight, highlight. Oh, okay, I'll do the first two and then the bottom two. Yeah, I got that. It's mind-boggling what highlighters can do. Please take that away. It's the most powerful thing you can do because you help with the processing, not decoding, the processing. Memorize one and remember two. When you have two opposing things to know, they can't know both. Fiction, nonfiction. I cannot tell you what they are until I learn that fiction is fake. Now I know both of them. I had high school students. Your kids sometimes are being pulled from curriculum. Yes, teachers are making up that time, but they weren't there for all the instruction. They still have gaps in noun, verb, adverb, adjective, clauses, right? They get to high school and they're like, Mrs. D, I never really learned that. Awesome, you're in a safe place, I will help you. So they didn't know if the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific Ocean. They know they're the oceans, but they don't know which side you're on. So I said, which side of America was discovered first? What's the first letter of the alphabet? That's Atlantic. So what's that? Pacific. You got it. Two opposing, memorize one. That's just good stuff. Okay, here's what you're probably going to think of. Okay, how do I get 5 sight words in a week? Well, it takes good parenting and a dedicated kid with a choice. Oh, I didn't do my flashcards. Okay, flashcards. Can you visualize right here? These are my flashcards. If I go like that, it's a flashcard. Got it? Your children have a color already. If you ask them what color is science, they will tell you. What color is reading, they will tell you. Your children already have a color, so just ask them. So what color is reading? They may say yellow. Then those are your yellow note cards. The reason why is I've got to have a trail for them with color. Then they have to have picture. Because right now I told you, which was Eddie's, I told you that the frontal lobe can learn just like that. Language center takes a longer time. So this is their sight word book. Fry's list you can get from their teachers. It's a list of the top 1,000 words of sight words. I was a great teacher and I wanted to make my kids feel special and welcomed in my class. So when they worked really hard on a sight word, like let's say this, and they're like, this. I counted it right because they worked so hard on it. It's not a sight word unless they go to this. So let your child know ahead of time, I know you read that and I love the effort you put in it. But if we don't read it immediately, it goes in our book. Okay? Okay. So if they hesitate, all we have is one word. The reason why I can get it in there is I can give them 6 words, 1 word. So the word is what? So it's your child's name. So this is Eddie's. His frontal lobe, he loves football. So yours is ballet, yours is football, yours is puppies, yours is soccer, whatever. But you have to already go with it, something they choose. Okay, so Eddie chose football. And this is going to be a video you're going to see kind of, not here, but on this one. A box with the sight word. They will code it in their class if they've gotten to coding or not. They draw a picture and say a sentence that goes with it. So he said you was his word. You scored a great touchdown. Guess where you is now? Is it over here or is it right here? It's right here. Then they're going to put you on their note card. What I do with my kids is this is not an option because you have dyslexia, you have to weigh it appropriately. It is a disability that you can do something to treat it. So we have to do our warm-ups before we read every night. So they do their sight words, and you need to mix them up because our kids are really smart than the opposite. So switch up the order, and they have to do is, the, are, where, were. Good job. Now read your book. They read every book every night of their sight words. Then when they go to read, the sight words are popping out. Sight words are 80% of every story that you read, 80%. So that fluency they need to memorize these words. Okay? Your children will have trouble spelling there, or your, and were, and where. That's okay. I do not allow my high school kids to have that accommodation, don't check off for spelling. Because you are expected to spell. I add my students get technology to spell. They need support, but I will not lower my expectation for you. So balance that out. I'm not saying it's the right one or right for everyone, but I'm saying you want to make sure that you are giving your kids independence. I knew I'd lose it. Oh, only once tonight. That's pretty darn good, y'all. That's pretty good. Almost done. Frontal lobe spelling. These are up here. Mrs. D cannot spell the word restaurant to save her life until I did it in my frontal lobe. It is the word rest, the word ant, and then, hey, you are going to the restaurant? Now I can spell restaurant. So that's what these are. So they're frontal lobe. Your kids can learn how to spell words faster if you go through that frontal lobe. You wanted to learn to decode, but we're not giving this tool. Silly sticks. If you tell a funny story like I just did, they can keep that information. The backpack story with the kid going to remember, Mom, I can't remember backpack and get my shoes. Or was it shoes? See, you don't have all that. Because we told a story, it stuck. So always continue to use that. This is, my high school kids have been through the program. They had secondary characteristics of dyslexia, which was the comprehension and pulling it together, writing strategies. I have lots of other things for you. So we had popcorn day and we sat down and personified the letters. And they're like, Mrs. D. I'm like, I'm just saying there's a bully in the alphabet. Can you find it? And they're like, there's not a bully in the alphabet. I'm like, I'm going to say, can you find it? Change their name. You know, look quick. See, they're not in our classes. They don't know how to put out their list. So A with R's is R instead of A or A. So he's a bully. Do you know that there's a shy letter of the alphabet? Come on, do you not know? Q, because it'll never go anywhere without U. Yeah, I didn't explain it well first time. Did you know there's a popular letter of the alphabet? I mean, seriously? T. It's Y. It's both a vowel and a consonant. Both T's. So all we did is all of a sudden, the alphabet for their kids, it means shame, losing recess, being disappointed, failing a test, having to work later when their homework's longer. The letters are not a fun thing. So I always talk shape and sound first. When I tutor my students, I tell my parents, you have 6 sessions. I will not even show them the alphabet for 6 sessions. Because if you are a diabetic, well, I've always said this, there's 2 types of diabetes, type 1 and type 2, but there's 2 types of diabetics, compliant, non-compliant. They never start out and say, by the way, you're going to pinch your skin and put a needle in there, do they? They start off with saying, you have the pancreas, it's not producing insulin, this is why you have to change the way you eat, you have to alter your lifestyle. Same with dyslexia. This has been very overwhelming, they don't have the letters. So what they have done is they have personified it, and we talked about the emotion of it. Technology is going to be coming out. Please, please be thinking audiobooks. There's 2 types of audiobooks. One is they listen to the audiobook and they're following along to decode. That is important, they need to do that. But there's also the audiobooks. Your children's intelligence is above the decoding level. Let them have a chapter book on audio. So get them familiar with it. The mentor program will be having them do a audio book club. My brothers would give me books all the time, and I was like, great entertainment for my shelf. And they're not going to give me books this week. They could read in a week. So I finally, when I learned I was dyslexic and got identified, my brother started sending me audiobooks. And so now we talk about Malcolm Gladwell, we talk about whatever book he gave me, we talk about him. And I finally had that conversation. So give them audiobooks. Digital learning is coming out. There's going to be speech to text, different technology that will be on our website. The teachers are going to be trained this summer in this Tiny Connections on technology, where it takes the font, increases it, adds color to it, and it will speak for you. It's free. So those are the type of tools that will be coming that we want your kids to do their work independently. Speech to text, can't say high enough about that, and that's also going to be in the SMORE. You have that already in there?
Well, yeah.
Okay, if you're not familiar with it or comfortable with it, that's why you're not doing it at home, then get trained and give it to your child. I cannot tell you how lucky they are to have technology at their age. Guidelines for a positive homework environment, always give them choice. Be consistent. I know that our lives aren't consistent. We've got all kinds of stuff going on, but be consistent with your language. I also at elementary asked for an accommodation, is that my kids would get their homework taken home on Friday for the next week, so they do it over the weekend. We're not saying they're not going to do our work and that doesn't get us ahead. I'm saying my child's going to be ready for your classroom and engaged because they were ready. So it's a great accommodation. This is for older. I don't know if I had secondary elementary parents, but there's a storytellers competition going on. So I do highly recommend that for high school kids. I don't think you can see it. Can y'all see it very well? And this is the last slide. This is a 5th grade student that they had put in special ed and given him no remediation for dyslexia. He was dyslexic. I had him from April to September. Can you see a difference in his handwriting? Okay, there's 3 reasons why that worked. Number 1, he did not believe in himself. It was emotional first. I am not that good of a teacher. You can't teach that kind of skill. It was in there. But he didn't believe in himself. When he would read to me, he would talk like this. Talk like this, he's a 5th grade talk. But he would read like this. So I said, I noticed 2 different voices. Is it okay if I share that with you? Why did I think I gave you choice first, right? And I said, I noticed that when you talk, you have one voice. When you read, you have another one. Is it okay with you if I define what I think those words are? Yeah. I think when you talk, you have confidence. And I think when you read, you're insecure. I'm not a good reader. So here's what I'm going to tell you. I want you to confidently know that you're not a good reader. I'll agree that your reading is slow. I'll agree that your reading is behind. I am asking you to be confident in that. I'm a great teacher. When you work with me, please read it with confidence. Point out and say, I don't know that word. With confidence. Changed his attitude, changed his voice. You'll see him on other movies. He's reading chapter books about that good. And you can with nursery rhymes. I'm not that good of a teacher. I engaged his emotion. I gave him choice. And he has a phenomenal mom. So mom did everything that I'd asked him to do. They were working harder at evenings. Because of the teamwork, that was the progress. So life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's learning to dance in the rain. That's why I'm asking you to engage your children that dyslexia is not something that you need to be overwhelmed by. It's just something you need to work with. And I can tell you, as an adult with dyslexia, I'm still dealing with it. I don't read strongly, but I have been very successful. So thank you for having me tonight. I look forward to maybe even for becoming successful here. If you have questions, I will be here available.